of insane. 2021 is already drawing to a close. And guys, thank you all so very much for sharing another year in movies with me. If you guys are new to the channel, what the heck are you waiting for? Smash that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. We're on the road to 1,000 over here. And if you guys enjoy this video by the end, don't forget to smash that thumbs up. It not only helps me, it helps you guys, it helps everybody really. But let's get right down to it, guys. 2021 was a huge year for cinema, especially if you're into the blockbusters and going to the movie theater. This was the year for you, especially after you were holed up at home throughout 2020. And guys, this year was so jam-packed, I could not limit this list to just 10 movies. So over this next little while, I'm going to be talking about my 20 favorite films of 2021, a lot of which were supposed to be released last year, but weren't due to obvious reasons. And let me just say something else as well. Grades don't actually matter here. This is all basically personal preference, what movies I loved the most this year. These are the movies that I cannot wait to revisit over and over and over again, so I'm hoping that I don't see down in the comments, oh wait, you gave Dune an A+, and you gave this such and such movie an A. You're gonna see that. I'm sorry, but you're gonna see that. But enough with the pleasantries, guys. Let's get right down to it. First things first, I do have a few honorable mentions that I'd like to acknowledge. Two movies that I saw in 2021, but really should be at the top 10 lists of 2020. That would be One Night in Miami and Minari. I'm not gonna put them on this list, even though I saw them technically within this calendar year. But those are basically 2020 releases, so I don't know if that necessarily counts here. Both of these movies I absolutely adore. One Night in Miami really should have been nominated for Best Picture. Minari was well warranted in all of the wins it received. Three animated films that I loved watching this year were Luca, Vivo, and Encanto. Yes, Encanto! I know a lot of people were expecting Encanto on my list, but don't worry, Lin-Manuel Miranda will be represented in other ways. Malignant, a creepy film. James Wan really is back in the genre. Free Guy, one of the best video game movies ever put to the screen. Ryan Reynolds was fantastic as usual. Jodie Comer, this was basically her coming out party, and this is not the only time you're going to be hearing Jodie Comer's name on this countdown. She was fantastic in this movie. It was extremely funny, and I had an absolute blast watching it. I've seen it a couple times since actually visiting the theater. Belfast, Kenneth Branagh's passion project. A lot of people might have expected Belfast to be actually on this list, but honestly, I don't really see myself rewatching Belfast over and over again compared to some of these other films we'll be talking about. Last but not least, a lot of people are going to hate me for this honorable mention. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yes, it's 4 hours. Yes, it feels epic. It is definitely better than the Justice version in every way. Steppenwolf actually feels like an interesting villain, and it made us want the Cyborg solo movie that Joss Whedon could not even imagine giving to us. I really did love the Snyder Cut. Even though it's not on this list, I really wanted to put it here, but honestly, these next 20 films, I see myself rewatching more. Which, speaking of, guys, here we go. Number 20. Candyman, or should I say Candyman. But yeah, this was one of my favorite horror movies of the year. Nia DaCosta, I think, did a wonderful job helming this movie. Made me super excited to see Captain Marvel 2, oddly enough. Yahya Abdul-Mateen, one of the best acting performances in a horror movie I saw all year. And this was honestly some of the most fun I had at the theater. I went with a big group of friends from my day job, and we all had a blast. We were yelling at the screen. We were screaming when we should have been. Super fun. Speaking of fun, coming in at number 19, we have Jungle Cruise. I know. A lot of people are shocked to see Jungle Cruise on a top 20 list, but I had to put it here. I had too much fun with it. I don't care if the ending doesn't really make sense. I don't care if the ending kind of cheats. Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt are dynamites together. Jesse Plemons was a very over-the-top villain. It really did remind me of a lot of my childhood favorites like Indiana Jones and Pirates of the Caribbean. And Jungle Cruise really delivered in the blockbuster realm. I cannot wait to see more movies out of this. And coming in at number 18, we have The Night House, which I feel like is one of the most ambitious, scary movies I saw all year. Rebecca Hall, I really hope the Academy acknowledges her in the nominations. They probably won't because they have a bias against scary movies. I feel like the only thing that was holding The Night House back from being a true instant horror classic was the ending. I feel like if the ending was left a little bit more up in the air, if it was left a little bit more ambiguous, I feel like it would have ranked a lot higher on this countdown. But coming in at number 17... The Mitchells vs. the Machines. Sony Pictures Animation has done it again. This was their first big hit after Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature, must I remind you. But yeah, they could very well take home the Oscar again in what looks to be a very packed category. I've already mentioned Luca, Vivo, and Encanto, which I think will round out the category. And one more, which, yep, we'll get to later. But this was just plain fun, and having the main character be a content creator like myself, it just warms the soul, you know what I mean? It's a darn shame that I couldn't see this on the big screen and it was just a Netflix exclusive because I would have loved to have seen the color pop on the silver. Now, coming in next on the countdown is a movie that a lot of people have been ranking a lot higher on their lists, but nevertheless... Nightmare Alley comes in at number 16 for me. Guillermo del Toro is a fantastic director, and it really shines once again what he can do behind the camera. Bradley Cooper is the best he's been in years. This entire cast was phenomenal. Cate Blanchett, Willem Dafoe, Rooney Mara, they're all fantastic. I just feel like the second act was a little bit too slow. I feel like if it picked up the pace a little bit, tightened things up, it would have ranked at least in my top 10 for sure. But the first and the third acts were just too damn good to ignore on this countdown. No Time to Die, I feel like, was the perfect finale for a big blockbuster franchise like this. Daniel Craig, I am still certain, is the best Bond to ever live. With all due respect, of course, to Sean Connery, rest in peace. Pierce Brosnan put out a couple of good releases, but Daniel Craig has always been consistent. Aside from Quantum of Solace, which was kind of mediocre, every one of his movies has been great. And No Time to Die is certainly up there. I don't think it's as good as Casino Royale. It might actually, on a rewatch actually, I watched this on Blu-ray just to make sure I had this on my countdown where I wanted it. But I think it's right on the level of Skyfall, if not better than Skyfall. I'm serious, No Time to Die is fantastic. Even Rami Malek was fantastic as our villain here. And y'all know how much I think he plays the same role over and over. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, in great acting, we have... Number 14 is Tick, Tick, Boom. The story of Jonathan Larson, who was a talent taken from us way too soon. He was the guy who brought you Rents for any Broadway aficionados out there. Andrew Garfield in this, oh my god, he got Jonathan Larson down to a T. I remember writing a dissertation about Jonathan Larson in my musical theater history class back in college. Andrew Garfield, I feel like, read that dissertation at some point, and he copied every little tick point there. He was outstanding. Lin-Manuel Miranda, as a director, also continues to prove that he is one of the most versatile talents working today. Yes, I did like Raya and the Last Dragon more than Encanto. I'm sorry. Call it a hot take all you want, but I just think that Raya was more fun. It certainly won't be as colorful or as vibrant or as musical as Encanto, but as a story, I feel like Raya is a lot more integral to kids and adults. And this will also factor into a future entry on this countdown, importance, but I think Raya and the Last Dragon and the way it concluded was just so awesome. Pig, certainly the most unique entry on this countdown. Nicolas Cage's performance in this, again, I really hope this is recognized by the Academy, but let's face it, it probably won't be. But I gotta give credit to the man where it's due. Nicolas Cage just continues to up the ante with every new project he takes on, and what's looking like a career renaissance for him after Mandy and Willy's Wonderland, which was a really fun film back in February. This one might be the best out of all of them. James Samuel sure knows how to make a Western. The Harder They Fall was a freaking blast from start to finish, and the performances are all magnificent. The representation in this cast, outstanding. Jonathan Majors, fantastic. Idris Elba was so creepy. He reminded me a lot of Hannibal Lecter. Regina King was awesome in this. And yes, even though it does pay homage and feel very similar to a Quentin Tarantino epic western, I couldn't help but have fun with this and be mesmerized with The Harder They Fall. Alright guys, going into the top 10, we have Last Night in Soho, a movie that really should not have bombed at the box office over Halloween season. I found this movie outstanding. Edgar Wright continues to prove with this film why he is one of my favorite filmmakers working right now. He has that same editing flair, except he's upped the ante into the scary genre this time. Not to mention, Thomasin McKenzie and Anya Taylor-Joy were dynamite together. Yeah? This is gonna get some controversy, isn't it? Dune is down all the way at number 9, and here's why. I can already sense that you guys want to trigger the comments already, but here's the thing. I don't think Dune is as rewatchable as the 8 other films that we're going to be talking about. Even though Denis Villeneuve did wonders with this content, and even though I am stoked out of my mind to see Dune Part 2, even though all the performances, Timothée Chalamet, Dave Bautista, everybody involved, Jason Momoa, Rebecca Ferguson, everybody is on target. It's not as rewatchable as these next 8 films I'm going to be discussing, even though I loved it, and visually, it is a masterpiece, right on par with Blade Runner 2049. And I can certainly see why so many people have placed this so high on their countdowns. Look out for this to be an Oscar contender, similar to a Lord of the Rings film. I will never doubt Steven Spielberg ever again as long as I live, because West Side Story was a freaking pleasure. Even though Ansel Elgort had a lot on his plate with a very difficult role, everybody else around him was just able to elevate this material. They finally gave cool back to Riff like it does belong to him. Anybody who's watched the Broadway show knows that that is Riff's song. But the thing about this version of West Side Story that I think I prefer over the original 1961 film, Steven Spielberg was able to capture the grimy, raw emotion of this rivalry. Not to mention, Rachel Zegler is a freaking revelation. Yeah, you didn't think you were escaping without an MCU entry, right? Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, I do think, may just be the MCU's best origin story to date. Maybe even since the original Iron Man film from 2008. I absolutely adored this film. Simu Liu, he's gonna be a freaking superstar within these next 5 years. I cannot wait to see him appear in more MCU projects. Awkwafina was also hilarious in this, as she was in Raya and the Last Dragon. And the action in this movie by itself is just so unbelievable. The bus fight in the first act really does set the tone for the future of the MCU, and nothing else since the airport fight in Civil War holds a candle to that bus fight. Keeping in the superhero realm, we have James Gunn's magnum opus, if I ever saw one. The Suicide Squad was a freaking blast. Just from the casting of Idris Elba as Bloodsport, John Cena as the Peacemaker, I cannot wait to see his exclusive series. Margot Robbie perhaps being the best she's ever been as Harley Quinn. And Sylvester Stallone as King Shark. Oh, love that man. Bird. This is certainly, it's gonna be one of the most rewatchable superhero films from the DCEU probably ever. It's gonna be really tricky for any future DC film to top this, and we're getting a lot of DC content in 2022. If you thought Last Night in Soho bombed at the box office, The Last Duel probably bombed even more. And it really shouldn't have. This really harkened back to some Ridley Scott epics like Gladiator, which is one of my personal favorites, but it added another layer of depth and emotion to it that you really don't ever see in an epic like this. All the performances were fantastic once again. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck working together on screen just warms my heart. Adam Driver was as despicable gets, but Jodie Comer, again, I really sincerely hope that the Academy recognizes her, because no question, she was outstanding. coming in at number 4 is still the most viewed new movie review that I've had on my channel, Judas and the Black Messiah, which is still staggering to me that so many of you guys clicked on that thing. But in all seriousness, this was the movie that I hoped would win the Oscar for Best Picture the last go around. Yes, even though it does bear a lot of similarities in story structure to The Departed, there was no question that I was mesmerized from Judas and the Black Messiah, from start to finish. Daniel Kaluuya, well-deserved in his Best Supporting Actor win. Lakeith Stanfield was fantastic. There's not really a whole lot to complain about with this one, guys. Shaka King, awesome. Please direct more movies, my friend. Now, this top 3, I gotta tell you, I really struggled with. But you know what? I had to go with my gut and my heart on this. So without any further ado, number 3. This movie held the number 1 position for a long time this year, up until this past month, where the next 2 films came out. In the Heights is just one of those magical experiences that you want to have over and over and over again. I honestly think that this is the best musical film adaptation that we've gotten since La La Land. I think In the Heights was that great. Anthony Ramos as Usnavi was fantastic. I loved seeing Stephanie Beatrice step out of her comfort zone of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Lin-Manuel Miranda's music as well. Again, one of the most versatile talents working out there right now. But this is what made him famous in the first place. Before he ever even wrote Hamilton and became a worldwide phenomenon, this was his breakout musical. And honestly, there's a lot of songs that I think are better than Hamilton's on a rewatch. And the story also just gut-wrenchingly emotional at every turn. Speaking of gut-wrenching, yeah, bet you didn't expect to see this film so high, but I'll tell you why. Because Don't Look Up, I actually think may be the most important film to come out of 2021. I know everybody has had a tumultuous year with everything going on, but this movie shows us that not only do we need to get our shit together, but it also kind of shows us that we need to laugh. There are some people who will find this movie offensive, but I feel like it just teeters right in the middle where it makes fun of both sides of the political arguments that's brought forth here with this comet that may or may not be coming. And this features the ballsiest cast and crew of all time, I think, to put this movie together. Leonardo DiCaprio is the only person who could have played this role with that Oscar-worthy meltdown he has at the news station. Jennifer Lawrence is the best she's been in years. Timothy Chalamet is really fun. Jonah Hill is a gigantic asshole playing against type. And Adam McKay's script just might be the best script we've gotten all year long. So of course, with me being a big geek, what else did you think my number 1 was gonna be, right? What other movie did I want to go back to the theater over and over again to see as many times as I have now? Well, that would be Spider-Man No Way Home. Honestly is not a perfect superhero movie, but I feel like it's the superhero movie that we needed coming into this year. Everybody loves Ghostbusters Afterlife and the fan service that it brought you, but Spider-Man No Way Home brought you that fan service and amplified it times 10. If this is John Watts' last foray into the Spider-Man world as the director, which it's looking like it because he's got the Fantastic Four to worry about now, but honestly, I trust John Watts wholeheartedly with those characters now, just because of what he was able to achieve with No Way Home. And Tom Holland might have just given the best performance of his entire career as Peter Parker, and it's not even close. Zendaya right up there with him, and Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin just warmed my heart to see him again, man. And it is chock full of surprises, which I cannot wait to get into with a Spoiler City stream this Sunday, January 2nd. I have got a fantastic panel lined up. We're not only going to be talking about No Way Home, we're also going to be looking at Eternals as well as Hawkeye. So stay tuned for that and much more, my friends. That's it. Those are my 20 best films of 2021. Did I miss any? Let me know down in the comments section below. What are your top 20 films of the year as well? I'm definitely curious to compare lists with you guys. And don't forget, smash that subscribe and thumbs up button on your way out, and click on that notification bell so you don't miss another upload from me in the near future. But y'all are the best. Seriously, I cannot thank you guys enough for sharing another year of talking movies along with me. And with all that being said, back talk commence.